So in the last video we worked out how scientists determined how long ago the last magnetic pole reversal was on this planet. We also, through delving into mid-Atlantic ridges, saw that it wasn't just a one-off event. These events occurred regularly, in 350,000 year averages. In this video, what I wanted to do is just show you the stark evidence that this is taking place again. And, I always go on about this because, I say, the magnetic reversal has happened many times on this planet before, but that shouldn't be taken for granted, that it won't have certain implications. As you can see, since the early 1900s, there are many pin marks that show where it has been tracked as it heads towards the direction of Siberia and on a single vector. And you will see that as we get to around 1999 onwards, that the gaps start to open up a little bit. That's an indication that the pole has, increased in speed and covered more distance in less time. This is really like the analogy of the boiling frog, and it's not really being taken as serious as it needs to be. This is a phenomenal event. It's a rare geo anomaly, and like I say, the last one was 780,000 years ago, and it shouldn't be taken for granted. What I mean by the slow boiling frog analogy is that, if you turn up the heat slowly on something, like a frog, it generally doesn't die. But if you chuck it in boiling water straight away, it generally kills it through the shock. And right now, humanity on a whole, everyone on, wherever they are on this planet, are being slowly boiled by the fact that this information is coming gradually and slowly. And it has been doing so over the last 100 years, as we can see from the pin marks on this map. That doesn't mean that by the time it gets to, the point of where it goes through its magnetic reversal, that won't have some serious implications for us on this planet. This is the important point about making these videos. It's about warning people of some of the possible implications with regards to climate and geophysical changes that could take place during this time. We know that around the Jurassic period of time, when dinosaurs was on this planet, that they were pretty much wiped out all at the same time. We know this through measuring depths of dust sediments and things like that have built up over the remains of those bodies many millions of years ago. And we know that over a certain period of time, a certain amount of sediment will build up over them, whether it's dust, sand, etc. It will build up and cover those up. And by measuring the depth, we can work out the age of, when they was about on this planet and alive. The interesting thing is that if we analyse the depth of these fossils that come back from the Jurassic periods, we find that all of a sudden, all over this planet, they was wiped out pretty much at the same time. Now, it is a theory that there was a meteorite impact that sent a massive dust cloud up into the atmosphere, and these dinosaurs pretty much all died at the same time through some sort of asphyxiation or suffocation. But that is a theory. What if through changes in the atmospheric, makeup of our atmosphere, that one element saturated the atmosphere more than any other, and as a result caused those important elements such as oxygen that we breathe to be less abundant, and that was the result of the extinguishing of the dinosaurs in the Jurassic period. That's just another theory, and it could be quite part of the pole shift theory as well. And that's why, recently we covered the topic of atmospheric oxygen and took a sample rate of it. And one interesting thing that came out of that is by studying the 1991 to 2004 data, we found that there was a 0.2% reduction in oxygen. So, we are in a period of time where there is recently a reduction in oxygen, and a period of time where the Earth is going through a magnetic reversal. And I'm not saying that this could be the result of possibly the next extinction, but I'm saying it could quite possibly be. And the reason why we don't know for sure is because of how long ago it was, and the fact we've got no historical records that go back to that period of time. And my concern is with people is that they're being slow boiled and they don't realise the true implications of a magnetic pole shift. And that's why I put the effort in on this channel like I do. And I know that some of these, I've got to also include those people that support the channel as well. It's important because at the point of where it reverses, those people that are not knowledgeable in the subject may be experiencing somewhat to the frog being chucked in the boiling water at that point in time. We have got a bit of time through some of the experiments that I've conducted with weak and strong magnetic field lines. We know that when it gets to around 40 degrees of movement, and we're not far off from that, guys, you know that, we go into the weak field lines and the magnetic reversal should be in full effect. And I expect, within months to have it reverse, and then another 100 years for it to settle down into its final position of resting. Similarly, how it is starting, it will finish, is what I'm saying. One of the things that concerns me is the lead up to the reversal, when it gets to around that 40 degrees mark, based on the experiments that we conducted with weak and strong magnetic fields. And during that point in time, when it's in the weak field lines and going through that faster transition to the reversal point. And, if people can be alerted at that point, then maybe they will still have time to make some final preparations as to, what will be the coming events, because it's quite clearly unknown. We are seeing some similarities in climate shift with regards to Arctic climates on the north and southern pole, more so the north pole for some reason, and that might have to do with the fact that the jet streams in the northern hemisphere are far more stronger than the ones in the summer hemisphere. But we are seeing changes, and the changes that we're seeing are where the magnetic plumes are over the North Pole and where it's breaking in the middle of the two. We're seeing the cooler climate form over those plumes. So there is a correlation. I mean, there shouldn't be any reason not to think that there wouldn't be in any case, because the magnetic North Pole is located directly over the Arctic region of the North Pole, and likewise for the South Pole in the Antarctic. So, we shouldn't think that it's uncommon for the magnetic poles to be in cooler climates, but the point is, it's where it's fracturing in the centre, as I've showed in other videos. That is where the weakest part of the North Pole is at the moment, in that breaking point. Now, we are at 20% reduction in the magnetosphere. That will have its own implications. Remember, it's the magnetosphere that protects us from cosmic rays and solar radiation, and the more that we get, the greater increase, and the possible increase of cancer rates that could increase, and that is on a diversity across all biodiversity ranges. So we're not just talking about human beings here. We're talking about all animals on the planet and all biolife forms such as trees, vegetation, etc., sea life also. So it can have massive implications. So what I'm saying is, we're seeing the weather change, we're seeing the weather move, and we're seeing it form part of a pattern that fits the magnetic pole migration to date. Now, at some point during this magnetic reversal, it's going to drop to around 10-15% until it reconfigures. Now, the magnetic north poles, as far as my research have shown, is that they've never always been in the same locations as what they are now. In fact, those Arctic and Antarctic regions have never always been Arctic cold climates. They have at some point supported trees that would be more inclined to warmer climates on this planet. And we also see that on other parts of this planet that at some point it has experienced, sub-zero temperatures. We know this through studying core samples and pollen in the samples within those areas. We know what sort of diversity of plants, trees and vegetation and even creatures were at that point in time. Just to give you for example, I mean, here in the UK, if you are in the building industry, you'll know straight away what I'm talking about. Our sand is very, very bright red compared to other parts of the world. Let's just take the Sahara Desert. We know that it's very hot in the Sahara Desert, yet the sand isn't red. So you've got to ask yourself the question, what was it then that caused that sand in the United Kingdom at some point to be oxidized that much? It must have been subjected to extreme heat at some point. And we don't find that red sand everywhere all over the world. We find different coloured sands, so it gives us an idea as to, we can speculate on the climate due to the oxidation level in the sands. So, what I'm saying is there's been many changes on this planet. I mean, it was only recently we've seen two new continents push themselves up from the sea, if you remember. I'm talking about this. I think one was off the coast of Pakistan and there was another one on the southern islands of China, I think it was. But this Earth is not a rigid thing. Things are happening all the time on this planet, and we are at the present time in the full grasp of a magnetic reversal. And I think if you wanted to study planetary mechanics, I think the most important subject to start with first is planetary magnetism, because I think everything else revolves around that. And I think proof of that is we're seeing the correlations now with the Arctic climate move slightly over towards Siberia in the bigger plume areas and lower itself further into China, or going towards China at least, and the Far East. And as a result of that, we're seeing the climates in those vicinities experience, record lows, and as a result of that, they're losing many, many thousands of heads of cattle, as well as other agricultural grown goods. So, my point is of this video, guys, is, we shouldn't take it for granted. We're in a very important time right now. I can only guess as to why the mainstream media is not covering this a lot more, and more professional organisations aren't putting more information out about this, because I think this is the biggest event in at least our human history. And for that reason, I still have a passion for putting this information out and trying to keep up to date with all the stuff such as we are. That's what drove me to build that magnetometer station, to monitor the heading of the North Pole, and also to come will be the magnetosphere strength indicator or sensor, which will give us real-time data of the magnetosphere strength. So, that's why I do this, guys. So, just to move away from the subject briefly, on average we're getting around about 70,000 people view the contents of these videos, and around about 1,000 to 1,500 people visit the website every week. So 70,000 views per month off YouTube's, 1,500 per week off the website. On average, usually around one video I make, I get one person donate a small contribution to this work that we're doing here and this research. And it's not a lot really when you consider 70,000 people, viewing the content. But if you are that one person today that decides to make a contribution, know that it's not just to support the channel, it's to support the views that we get. You're helping get that information out. And in my view, and I'm sure most of you agree, it is highly important that that information gets out to those people. So I want to thank you and I want to encourage more people to do more in form of supporting the channel the way they are. I also want to thank those that have already as well. So as usual, guys, there's a link down there if you want to support this work, and the more support we get, the more we can do. Obviously, it's a fact of life in a monetary system. The link will be down there, and as usual, you enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll speak again. Bye for now.